Ulonga tabati yada to ye kuma daifa. Ino to ye ko je love bipa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Zongo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, ton she nile yo. O jelo jara.
Alafia, peace and power, family. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Orisha Gbemi, and we are back this week with another live stream of the War Report, featuring none other than the War Report tag team partner, brother Bdell 1014 in the building.
Salute.
With you, brother.
Salute. How you doing?
Like we always do about time. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look. As always, bro, there's always a lot going on. It's always a whole lot for us to pick up with and to digest and to dissect and to get all the way into it, man. So before we do that, shout out to the tribe, shout out to the new channel members, shout out to the new Patreon members, shout out to the new channel subscribers, and appreciate all the love and support to everybody who's been rocking with us. And yeah, man, it's time to get this thing cracking, bro. So War Report, extraterrestrials, pyramids, portals, weather, floods, all kind of stuff going on, man. Where do you see, with your independent research, like what do you feel like is the most important thing that we should be paying attention to right now, as it stands where we at right now with the current global geopolitical state of the globe, bro?
Well, we should be preparing for a ecological humanitarian crisis because the big one can happen at any time. And the big one is talking about the earthquake in a certain geographical landmass such as California. Now, we all know that Mount Shasta is also the root chakra of planet Earth. So that's basically the foundational blueprint before the ascension process, before you have the start and the activation of the seven thunders, which is also interfacing with the seven plagues that is also interconnected to your seven tablets of destiny, because this is what I was talking about as far as like the pole shift. The pole shift starts with you, right? So when you unlock those seven energy cortexes, that's when you unlock the chakras of the planet Earth, where you have California, Mount Shasta, because that intrinsic landmass in itself, it's very vital, to the Great Reset, because it plays a part for the agenda for 2030, because according to the Sustainable Development Goals, they want to build the first 15-minute smart cities in California. You know what I'm saying? This is what the data centers is all about. Right. It's another way to suck up microscopic waves of energies from people's biological vessels. That's what it's all about. It's basically, trying to manipulate the ascension process, because they're trying to intercept these energies that's coming to the planet and interfacing with the 144,000 of what I call the chosen ones. So as far as like, they're trying to create their own reset before Mother Nature hits the reset button.
Right.
That's why some people can't decipher, is this something from the government, or is this something that's, based in the activation of nature and prophetic divination? That's the thing, because some things, you just got to pay attention to everything. You got to understand how science works. Just like when I tell people all the time, you got to be able to understand synthetic energy that is cultivated by the simulation and what's really connected to the real world, which is interfacing with nature. So the best way is like you got natural electricity, and then you got electricity that is basically synthetic, that is created by smart dust particles and other arsenic additives that they put inside the atmosphere. So like hypothetically speaking, real electricity comes from the ground, but synthetic electricity actually comes from the sky. So anything, because positive electrical frequencies is activated by way of the energy of the black sun. That's where you get the activation of Ophiuchus and things of that nature, because according to different, readings of the esoterics and different mythologies, they talk about how you have a internal sun, and then and that internal sun is what gives power to Orgartha, which is basically a representation of the scent of Allah. So that's why they talking about these extraterrestrial entities. They said that they, the great majority of them, they said that they live in the caverns of the earth.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You ever heard
Yep.
about the green children of Woolpit?
I haven't, but I did want to go back into the sun thing when you finish because I want to learn about it. But no, I don't. Not at the top of my head, I can't recall know anything about that.
Well, in the green children of Woolpit, there was these two little children. They was like literally like the color green, and it came out of this cave system. And I think it's somewhere in the Netherlands, I believe. But they came out of this cave system, and they began to amalgamate themselves with the population on the surface of the planet. But anyhow, what happened was the children, they try to live amongst these people and they end up getting sick because their dietary system wasn't acclimated to the dietary system of the surface dwellers. So they got a town. They actually got a town called that's dedicated after the Green Children of Woolpit, and that coincides with Osiris because Osiris, his other nomenclature title was what? El Qadir, the Green One.
Yeah.
So that means that in order to reap the benefits of gamma radiation, the physiology of it, you have to go through that ascension process because that's when they were talking about the Khafre pyramids. It goes into the caverns of the earth because when Osiris died, the resurrection process is based on him. First of all, resurrection in itself at the bottom of the pyramids is exactly 111 megahertz frequency. And that frequency in itself has the ability to reverse the inversion of the chakra system that was subjugated by the moon. So when so the resurrection actually takes place when you go underground. You don't get access to Hollow Earth and Shambhala or Gartha, the Rainbow City. You don't get access to those dimensional gateways if you have parasites.
Yeah.
That's how you know if the body is rid of parasites, if your physiology is transmuting to the color of green, because that's the original color of the Anunnaki, right? Because the parasites in itself is what creates the oxidation that breaks down the hemoglobin cellular structure to the point where you start to age. The hemoglobin interfaces with the atmosphere, so every time you breathe in, you're aging literally.
Yeah.
Because those cells are basically breaking down. It breaks down the hemoglobin. So that's why you would have to go into a form of human photosynthesis, which is basically ultra fast internal conversion. That's why they've been talking about the atmosphere is changing, like what you was talking about the Schumann resonance spike and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of it too, and we've spoken about that before, and that's another one that I feel like definitely deserves a deep dive within itself. I would say two topics I think I got to get into is like one on just melanin alone, but also the fact that, like you said, with Osiris, like the skin was initially green, and according to Dr. York's work, our skin actually is or used to be green, but based upon all the different things that transpired into place. Can you kind of break down, how that all came about, how our skin went from green and then it transitioned into the copper tone in which it is now, and that process of what happened to cause that?
Because the copper color tone is a representation of the fall of man. So now this is why you got to go back to the galaxy, the galactic center, which represents the path of the middle way, because the path of the middle way represents the spirit of Melchizedek, to where you reap the benefits of the green Etherian energy. Because green is the most intrinsic color in the color spectrum, because it's basically interchangeable with white, because it basically absorbs all frequencies, because green is actually a representation of ether, because it basically interfaces with everything in the color spectrum. So green in itself, it represents evolution, and it also represents ascension. So which is why, like I said, we was going into the portals. The heart in itself is a portal. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
The heart in itself. So just talking about like UFOs, spaceships, and portals, and other dimensional gateways, these is basically connected to the energetic points on your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I said, when you tap into mind science technology, you will know that your mind in itself can basically become the mothership. You will know that the heart in itself can basically become a portal, right?
Facts.
And when the heart in itself interfaces with the mind, that's what creates the tetrahedron of what they call a hexa alpha, where you have the divine feminine and the divine masculine interfacing together within yourself. which creates those neuron fibers, where you have the activation of the corpus callosum, mental ascension, right?
Yeah.
To where the brain transmutes into the energy of a dove. That represents ascension.
Yeah. That's powerful, because there's another gateway too, and shout out to he's an ancestor now, but the work I got to salute the work to Dr. Richard King, which I speak about him. I have spoken about him quite often because he has two very powerful books. One of them is I think it's called The Third Eye, or The Mind's Eye, the Eye of Heru. The Eye of Heru, I think, is one of them, and there's another one that he has on melanin. But he speaks about the pituitary gland and that trifecta of the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, and then I don't know if it's the Bartholin gland.
No, it's like it's the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus gland, and the pineal gland.
There you go. Those three. Those are gateways and portals too.
Yeah, especially, you know why? Because I'm gonna tell you why. Because those three mental transmissions interface with the three suns in the Orion star constellation called Utu, Apsu, and Shamash.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because that's when you're talking about the red star Kachina and the blue star Kachina interfacing with the yellow sun. Because that trifecta energy in itself is a representation of recalibration, right? Because as far as like what resurrection and recalibration is, you know, it represents 3 points of energy, which represents a 9-degree angle. That's when you get into the sacred geometry of the Freemasonic mathematics. You know what I'm saying? Because all those things basically interface with who we are, you know, as humans on the planet. Because you know, when you go to I think it's it's the Temple of Seti. When you get into ancient Kemetic spirituality, the Temple of Seti was in dedication to Osiris, and that's where it shows you the ontological monolithic structure. It shows you in the L shape, which represents 9-degree angles. So anything that deals with anything of 3, it automatically represents resurrection. Because just like you got 3 states of matter, you got reading, writing, arithmetic, ABC, 1, 2, 3, Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, man, woman, and child. You know what I'm saying? So everything is based upon the frequency of 3, because the 3 is interconnected to the endocrine system, which is the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland. No, the hypothalamus gland, thymus gland, and the thyroid gland. Those are the 3 keys to unlock those 7 energy cortexes, which ties our way back into the 7 thunders. So when you want to resurrect something, it always happens by way of the energy of 3.
Yeah. And you know what? When you first started speaking about the different suns, one of the things that I wanted to get your opinion and perspective on is, what about the inner sun? Because there's also a sun inside the planet, inside of inner Earth. So how does that sun play a part or a role into what we're seeing or experiencing out here on the planet now? Because one of the things I had in regards to the notes of what we're going to get into tonight was all the different calamities and all the different types of natural disasters that we're seeing. I feel like a lot of them are probably natural, but there's also probably some that, you know what I mean, are man-made from CERN or from, you know, the different little weather modification programs that the people use. So what do you feel like, or what's your thoughts on the inner sun that's inside of the planet and how that plays a role into what we're experiencing here on the surface of the planet?
The inner sun is actually a physical manifestation of what's taking place outside the firmament of what I call the spiritual sun, which is the North Star Polaris. But so when you're looking at a Masonic tracing board, it's showing you the white square and the black square, dark and light magic. A lot of people try to say that that's a representation of the sun and the moon. No, that's actually talking about the true light star Polaris interfacing with the black sun. Because the black sun represents a portal to get right back to the galactic center, which is the North Star. So the black sun is actually Ophiuchus. So a black sun is basically a magneto-externally collapsing object, because it basically manipulates time.
Now, would that have something to do with why time is moving so fast? Because I know, you know, I'm pretty sure you've been experiencing it, but a lot of people that I talk to and that I communicate with on a regular, including myself, like time, I feel like it's definitely in a warp speed. It's almost like we're making quantum leaps in time versus the regular traditional so-called increments of time. So what do you think about that part?
Yeah, because like I said, you know, Because one thing you gotta understand is that when you have telluric patterns, telluric energy is another metaphysical name for planet Earth. So the telluric patterns interfacing with the magnetic field is actually, creating of what I call circling the square or squaring the circle in Freemasonry. So when you're talking about circling the square, that means that the neutrinos, the spiritual energy, is manipulating the physical world, which represents the square, which is the moon. Right? So that means that everything as far as like condensed subatomic particles, all these things are basically being broken up. So that's what the data centers are basically being used for. The data centers are basically it's like a metaphysical technological machine. It's an archonic it's basically like an archonic I forgot what they call it, a watermark. It's an archonic watermark to basically save the simulation. So it's basically like the glue. You know how when you don't want to buy nothing new and you try to put the shit right back together yourself. That's what the corporation is doing with artificial intelligence, because they're getting these ideas from dark forces, who are the archons.
Got you.
Because like I said, the archons, they need another way, to feed off the Lucia a lot faster in order to create their reset before Mother Nature has her reset. That's what's going on.
What do you feel like?
Because the data is another way for them to sacrifice to feed off humanity faster.
Yeah.
Human data is the most intrinsic resource in our simulation.
Yeah.
So bloodshed is not enough. So they need the human data. That's what they need. Because that's the only way they can interface with human intelligence.
Yeah. And that's real, because even when it comes to like business, right? People who are entrepreneurs or people who run businesses or that own businesses, etc. We all know that data is definitely king when it comes to marketing, because in order to efficiently and effectively market whatever your products, goods, or services are to your potential target audience or your potential clients, customers, etc., you have to know something about their psychology. You have to know something about their not just demographics, but their psychographics as well, because that is be whatever their trigger point is for you to do whatever you're doing, and to create commercials, to create advertisement, create whatever in order to draw in those people that you are targeting for your products, goods, or services. So with that, universal that goes across the board from business all the way to with them hijacking consciousness, right?
Yep.
What the hell is the significance of them trying to start the reset before Mother Nature? Like, what's the logic behind it? What the inspiration behind them?
It's a game. It's a game, because if they do the reset first, they can basically continue this illusion. But Mother Nature does it, like I said, it's basically like a game of chess.
Yeah,
it's fifth dimensional chess going on.
Right.
So, like I said, they trying to complete everything right before you have the firmament crack open. That's the thing. Because if you pay attention to what they doing, they move like they running out of time.
Yeah.
Like everything they do is so
rapid.
So fast, to the point where they start glitching.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of that too, man, because there's several different channels that I watch whenever I get a chance to, and because they make good content as well. And I've seen on other brothers and sisters channels where they're showing videos or clips and creating social media posts of the simulation glitching, and and people glitching and reptilians glitching. Kind of like when you was one of the first ones I saw that made the video about the dude that had the mask on online.
I was about to. I was about to get into that. The reason I was about to get into that because there's videos back in the 1980s. There's videos back in the 1990s that shows people somewhat wearing a mask. But because the consciousness during that time period, a lot of people weren't activated. Some of our parents and uncles, a lot of them, they were basically slipped because they were too busy trying to chase the American dream. They were too busy trying to, go to college, get the big house, the white picket fence with the dog. They were chasing that American dream. You get what I'm saying? So they wasn't really paying attention, to the great majority of the afflictions and the glitches in the matrix. So now we're in the time of the sun cycle. The sun cycle where you have the activation the heartbeat of planet Earth, the Schumann resonance, is going to spike up.
Yeah.
And once it spikes up, it creates those telluric patterns, the wave, right?
Yeah.
Because the wave is the only thing that can basically unlock the spell of the sleep spell of Kingu, which is basically interfacing with the belt of Orion. When you're talking about the Van Allen belt, where you have the radiation belt, where they created the Pleiadian light lock, the silver cord. So that's what it's all about, because the silver cord is another mechanism to make you, acclimated to the data centers. Because like I said, they want to keep you in a perpetual state of reincarnation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why they call planet, when you look at the suffix of the word planet, you get NET.
Yeah.
Right? Because the planet is actually a net. It's a Draconian reptilian net. Just like the brother Young Pharaoh, he had spoke on spiders, right? But the net, the planet in itself, is another way to entrap the energy of souls. Just like when you got like a spider might have like other insects that he keeps on his web because he's basically trying to suck up that energy. The same thing takes place when you're talking about a spider web, or the planet Earth. The same thing actually takes place, because these energy ley lines is basically being used as another way to suck up energy. That's all it is. We literally live in a prison planet.
Yeah. And real quick, let me pull this up real quick. The fact that you said that, and there's so many other places I want to go to this, but I'm going to share this because I feel like you'll be able to dissect it too. When you think about even the phonetic breakdown of the word planet, right? It's spelled PLAN, right? ET. You can reverse engineer that bad boy and then planned by extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Right? Because how far back can you go prior to the Anunnaki or the Sumerians? Or, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can go back to the ancient, Atlanteans and Lemurians and all that. But either way it goes, as far as my research takes me, none of those civilizations are to be said to be indigenous of the planet Earth. They all were seeded in different galaxies or different star systems, whether it's Sirius, whether it's the Palladians, whatever star system or wherever you want to go with it, all of them were still connected by some way, shape, form, or fashion to another star system versus being indigenous from purely here on the planet Earth. Do you know of any civilizations that are just strictly, that is said to be just from the planet Earth or born and created here on the planet Earth outside of being attached to another star system?
The so-called black woman.
Right. The womb man, right?
Yep.
And that's the one that if you look back, her mitochondrial DNA is connected to the mycelium network of the motherboard. Okay. Her DNA interfaces with the planet. Right. So that's why they had to use the moon. The moon is another way to extract the energy. Right. That's why I said planet Earth is a loose planet. It's a loose farm. So the dilution of the energy of the moon, that's not enough. So like I said, now they're using the data centers. So like I said, eugenic systems that was basically correlated to the corporations, that ain't enough right now. They need something that's more intrinsic to where they can keep you in reincarnation mode. And that's the data. So they keep feeding the harvest off you. Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing, like for instance, the way I equate it, like this USB drive I got. This like for instance, they got like data systems or whatever. They can keep your data on like different technological devices to where they can keep your consciousness uploading into other robots and other technological devices. That's why I said data is the most intrinsic resource. They don't care about bloodshed. So when you're talking about a mass sacrifice, it's actually talking about the great majority of human beings on the planet interfacing with the artificial intelligence God, which is basically what I call the Antichrist. Yeah, that's real, man. And it's so funny. Well, this part's not funny, but it's funny how the thought of the download came to me. But the way that these parasites are running the system or the simulation, whatever we want to call it, it really reminds me the same way a pimp runs the block. The way he runs his, because it's like they're gonna keep beating up, their main star bras or their main star tricks or chicks, because they want to keep that mind control over them. They want to keep that grip, that grasp of you'll never elevate or evolve or grow above where I'm going to put you as being your quote unquote so-called master. And you know, saying paraphrasing this attempt. So I feel like that's how they're trying to do with us. They're trying to beat us down as much as they can to keep us from elevating, you know, out of that mind control.
And another thing is that this is the last reincarnation cycle. This is their last chance for them to try to reincarnate back through certain bloodlines.
Right.
So this is what. So when they talking about the 6,000 years is up, it's really, if you want to be 100, it's really the 12,000 years is up.
Yeah.
Because the moon has been in our solar system for the last 12,000 years. That's what messed up the human circulatory system. That is why, you know, the great majority of everything in the Western world, or just the majority of everything, is basically backwards.
Right.
It's because of the moon. Because the moon has to create a dualistic energy within the energy extraction matrix.
Right.
So it has to create dualism. And the only way you create dualism, if you flip shit upside down when everything was going, you know, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's why they targeted the woman, because they knew that can throw off her, you know, circadian rhythm and, you know, all types of other biorhythms that connect to the planet and to the cosmic, you know, frequencies of the universe, right?
Yep. And then I would say you had other extraterrestrial entities. You had the Nakul, who lives in the caverns of the planet. They live Rainbow City. Some people call it the Crystal City. Then you got the Teros, right? These are basically the benevolent versions of the Deros, who are detrimental robotoids. And they're basically a amalgamation of the fluoride and the negative grafting of the Tero. So the Tero, they had a technology where they basically grafted the negative afflictions of their biological cells and they put it inside of a different species. And now, have you ever seen a movie, Nothing But Trouble?
Is that the one with Tupac in them in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had
those fat things right there. They were showing you those are real. The Bubble and Devil.
Yeah,
those are they live in the caverns of the earth. They showed you in a movie 28 Days Later. They show you the same entities. It was like these fat zombies. Yeah.
See, I don't know if I saw it 28 Days Later, but I definitely remember that the one with Pac and Digital Underground in it for sure. I definitely remember that movie. And I remember seeing that, and it's nuts, like how, and they've been doing this forever, like putting the truth into, you know what I mean, like Hollywood and into videos, into movies and things of that nature. Sure.
Yep. And it's another group. It's another group. They got the big nose. I forgot their I forgot their names.
Because it almost feel like they're almost like a hybrid between an elephant and a human, right? Their nose almost like a dangling trunk.
Yeah. Yeah. They're actually a branch of the Albion European, because if you look at nose, it has that big bridge.
Yeah. And then they kind of hook too. They kind of over like a damn question mark.
Yeah. Because and then now think about it. When you was a little kid and you look at all the mythological, the conspiracy, witchcraft movies, like you got the witch in the woods with the gingerbread house. They always show you the witches with the big long pointy nose. It's the same nose. Now listen, the perception of art imitates reality. Now you think about all the villains in the cartoons. They always got that same pointy nose, right?
And listen,
that's a Zionist nose.
Bro.
They telling you in real time.
Yes.
Like I said, but a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand, you know, phenotype. They don't understand bloodline, so they just kind of just write it off as like, they just put the nose just like that for, you know, just for shits and giggles.
But think about this too, and what you saying that when you said that, all I could think about was the Joker. Think about the Joker. Remember when Danny DeVito played the Joker in Batman?
Yeah.
Same thing. So they
put and then listen, he lived underground. Remember the Penguin?
Yeah.
He lived under Gotham City. He lived in the sewer system.
Damn sure did, bro. That's so crazy, because last time it was connecting the dots with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then now that's another dot connected, because I forgot about him living underground, but he definitely had that big hook nose though. And
then watch the movie Midnight Meat Train. They got those. They got entities underneath New York City.
I gotta watch that. Now let me ask you this, because when we were on it earlier, I didn't want to interrupt and cut your wisdom, but I can only imagine. I'm probably not the only person who's thinking this, and I'm sure it might be somebody else in the tribe or in the audience that might be thinking. But now, when we talk about us originating and having green skin from antiquity back, when we go back to Asar or Osiris, that era of existence, on this planet, is there any sort of connection or parallel into the green of our skin and then the green of the skin of the reptilian?
No, I wouldn't say that, because a lot of the reptilians, a lot of them are not green. Some of them are actually white, because the white skinned reptilians, it represents hierarchy.
Hmm.
So you gotta
scales, right?
Yeah, you got some that got like scales. You got not scales, but they got like
Snake.
horns. Like they got like horned. Some of them, like the ones that are white, they got horned. A lot of people say that Prince Charles, he's actually the personification of Pindar. Yeah.
Who was Pindar? I don't know if I heard that.
Pindar is he's actually, it's in within the conspiracy circles, they talk about how that's actually the top Draconian. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, because the Mama damn sure was one. Well, hell, I heard that all that so-called royal family, nothing royal about them, but
I mean, if you people just study ontological artifacts, it tells you that there's a serpent race on the planet.
Right. Okay.
They tell you, like when you look at the cathedrals, right? They got these gargoyle entities. Yeah. It's the same gargoyle that when you look up sleep paralysis paralysis is going to show you a gargoyle entity sitting on your chest. But since you can only see about 5% of the electromagnetic spectrum, it's only going to show you a shadowy figure.
Right.
But that's how they actually look. They look reptilian. They look like a gargoyle. So the great majority of these entities, like I said, when they fell in frequency, that's because 1/3 of the galaxy, they went against the order of Anu and they was casted out. And when they fell in frequency and they was basically entrapped, a lot of people don't understand this concept, but it's kind of like the same thing when you watch the movie The Man Who Fell to Earth. When he fell to Earth, his physiology, his structure changed. So he didn't look like his extraterrestrial self. When he came down, he started to look more human. See, the thing is that in the inception of creation, the archons that was casted out of heaven, they actually look more benevolent. And then when they dropped in frequency, that's when they started to look more reptilian looking.
So it almost sounds like a curse type thing.
Yeah, it's like a curse. Yeah. It's like a curse. Because a reptile is based on bloodshed, cold blood.
Yep. And that man, you beat me to it, because I was gonna say, when you think about it, when you talk about how they dropped down and how they then transformed and started taking on those types of biological makeups, that to me, that with them not only being cold-blooded, but that made them direct opposition to the sun, and not just the sun, but the sun people, correct? Because cold-blooded, a cold-blooded animal or entity or whatever the case is not going to fare well in the sun, because the sun is, is the opposition to it. That's the ops. So it's like that makes a lot of sense with them being.
And that's why I see when you get into the book of Leviticus, they were talking about Levitical law. You have the cursed seed of Labana. The cursed seed of Labana is the Amorite, which is the Canaanite. So the Canaanites, they were cursed with leprosy. And leprosy, that's a vampiric trait. So that's why, as far as like that guy being on the screen and he had to wear a mask, the epidermis layer of their skin is starting to break down, because he's of the cursed bloodline. Dr. York, according to Els Holy and Jill, Revelation 17:17, the evil reptilian gave power to the beast. That's interconnected to the movie The Voyage of Demeter. Because it shows you the reptilian, the Draco, giving the power to the uncivilized cave-dwelling European during that time period. It shows you the level up. Watch the movie Dracula Untold. That's the story right there. But instead of looking at the guy, because he was like more of a demonic entity, but think of the guy as more being like a Draconian figure. He went into the caves, and when he went into the caves, he got his powers, you know, he amalgamated with the entity, and that's when he became the so-called Dracula, and that's when he basically, you know, started to colonize other civilizations. So that was basically the start of Greco-Roman culture, because the inception of Greco-Roman culture is Draconian law. There is a thing called Draconian law. That means they have to keep you connected to a form of fear.
Yeah.
Fear God, fear religion,
Mm-hmm.
fear the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the fear is what? Loosh.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of that campaign. I don't know if you remember. I'm pretty sure you do, but you remember back when there was this thing, and it kind of got a lot of steam, and I used to see it a lot of different places. And it said obey, just that OBEY, but obey, right? Do you remember seeing like people with bumper stickers and, you know what I'm saying, T-shirts and all that? Obey. Who the hell are you supposed to obey? What's up?
That I'm gonna give you a conspiracy. I'm gonna get in my conspiracy bag for you. I'm gonna dig real deep for you. The obey is actually when you look at the title and the logo of it, it shows you the person's eyes behind it. That's the basically the logo. So the clothing line Obey is actually giving veneration to Aleister Crowley. Those
So
were
that
the eyes.
was
Yeah. So that was the eyes of Aleister Crowley. So when they're telling you to obey, they're basically telling you to obey the laws of Luciferianism.
Wow. That's nuts, because I remember clear as day, and I guarantee you there's people in the audience, I'm pretty sure you probably did too, but there was an interview, I don't know if it was an interview or a video that Jay-Z did, and he had on a hoodie that had the quote from Aleister Crowley that says, "What do as thou wilt," or something like that.
Yes, do what thou wilt. Do what thou wilt. Now, because like I said, I have a lot of occultic books. Do what thou will is actually not a bad thing.
So
it's really it's kind of like the same. Do what thou will. Just think of that quote. How people look at that quote is how people look at the 48 Laws of Power book, pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do what thou wilt is meaning that it's your in so many words, make yourself the victor in every situation.
Pretty much like personal development. I know the 48 Laws of Power is deep, but from me and my own personal perspective, and I've read it a few times, what I gather from it is about, I feel like, a higher level, a higher frequency, higher tiered version of just personal development. You know what I'm saying? Like to do whatever it takes to, you know.
So do what thou wilt is basically saying in translation and in hood terms, do what the fuck you want to do and do what the fuck you gotta do to get to the top. Even if you got to step on your own people's neck, even if you got to sell out your people, even if you got to become a pastor and go to seminary school and tell your people that they Hamites when really they the Shemitic people of the Bible and that they ain't came from Atlantis. That's what that is. That's what that basically is.
So kind of like the mob type of mentality, or barbarian. You know what I'm saying? Barbarism, like by all means necessary, get to the top, no matter who you got to sacrifice. Pretty much.
That's what that's what Jay-Z would do, because what he say, I ain't a businessman, I'm the businessman. Let me handle my business then, because he puts business over relationships.
Yeah.
He'll sell out his own people, Dame Dash.
Yeah.
He'll sell out his own people, Beanie
Siegel. Meek, Memphis Bleak.
Memphis Bleak still working with him.
Oh, he's still right with Bleak?
Yeah,
Bleak might be the only person.
Bleak he's actually the president of Duce.
Oh, so Bleak probably the only person that's still with him there. I know he sure as hell screwed over a lot of other people. That was part of that movement. That's crazy.
Because because he's connected to a coalition. He's connected to a corporation and a coalition that is connected to the crash unit, which is but then the crash unit is what was it? The community revolution against street hoodlums, and the crash unit is as a part of the LA police force. And Nipsey, he was trying to unify the Crips and the Bloods. Yeah.
Man, and that's the second time.
So Rock Nation got him clipped up. That's what I'm pretty much saying. Rock Nation got him pretty much because Rock Nation is COINTELPRO, CIA.
Yeah, because his I think she, I don't know what her role or her position is, but she's a Spanish chick that he rocked with heavy. I can't remember.
Rosa Perez.
Yeah. That whole dynamic within itself, speaks volumes of rap. Mm. Yeah,
that's what, you know why? Because the great sea, and that's another thing. It ties all the way back into the extraterrestrial thing, because you got to watch the movie Night Patrol. Night Patrol, it talks about the delineation process between the Crips and the Bloods, but they unify in the movie and they go against the Crash Unit. And the police, they were basically hybrids of humanoid shape-shifting Draconian reptilians. Yep. And that's why, and that's when he tapped into his etheric self. The guy, he turned into the Zulu. He started to walk on the air. He activated his powers. Yep.
Wow. You know, that's the second time. I didn't know that part about Nipsey with the unifying the Bloods and the Crips, but I did know he had the Dr. Sebi documentary and a couple other things he was working on that could have made him a target. But this is firsthand court information too, that I won't reveal the source, but I know it's a very credible source. But I know, based upon some of the relationships that I have with some of the elders, that Pac and Big were actually working together to do the same thing. Like, everybody thinks that they were warring, but really, from what I gather from people who I know for a fact that had internal relationships with both of their families, said that they really wasn't beefing. No matter what the shit showed on, you know what I'm saying, mainstream, they were literally working together to create, you know what I'm saying, a unified front to bring together a lot of the tribes, i.e. the Bloods and the Crips and a lot of other street, you know what I'm saying, ninjas. So it's like, that might have a lot to do with why they both was assassinated, allegedly. It's a dirty game, man. It's a dirty game. It's a dirty, dirty game. So when it comes to the control and all these other elements and aspects that we're seeing and we're dealing with, especially when it comes to the environment, whether it's the water, whether it's the air, whether it's the food, whether it's all the things that the spikes, the jabs, all the other things, where does how can I put it? Where does the inception of the 6, 7, and I'm seeing and hearing even more about even up to 8G with these damn Wi-Fi signals and towers and all that stuff, where does that play a role in the scheme of things with what they got going
on? They're trying to activate the nanotechnology within your biological structure, and it's actually called black goo.
And what is that?
What happens is it basically breaks down the hemoglobin. It takes over the nervous system. It's basically like what it does is, it's basically, all right, hypothetically speaking, it's like when you have a parasite, it's basically like the black goo is being used as a mechanism for the parasites to Voltron together and to take over the actual physical vessel of the person. So the host in itself actually takes over, literally.
Wow.
Kind of like the movie Venom.
Wow.
So a lot of the stuff, as far as like the genetically modified foods, a lot of the psychotropic medicines, a lot of the additives and the arsenic and the atrazine that's inside, you know, recreational smokes and liquor, all that stuff got black goo in
it. Wow.
Yeah.
And you said that they want to infiltrate the bodies with that because that has something to do with pretty much like amalgamate or like bringing all of the parasites together to form.
It's basically like putting a blanket over your force field. Just imagine, just like, you know, when Goku, when he's going to activate Super Saiyan, just imagine somebody just throw a big ass blanket over that. That's what that black goo does. It lowers your frequency, it lowers your bandwidth to the point where parasites is able to take over your physiology. And once your frequency is low enough, that's when you get non-corporeal demons, just like in the movie Odd Thomas. Watch the movie Odd Thomas. When a person is about to pass away, you'll see all these non-corporeal shape-shifting entities all over the person.
Wow.
Because they're feeding off the energy of death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what the moon does. The moon is basically activating these parasites to the point where it's like a stimulated process. It's just being used as a mechanism to weaken your magnetic field, just so where entities can, you know, infiltrate you.
Yeah, and you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the heavy dosing of fluoride to calcify the pineal gland. Like that's where when you said that, what they did was like trying to blanket the Goku to turn into Super Saiyan. That's literally why the heavy, you know what I'm saying, involvement of fluoride in the water and so many other dynamics to calcify the pineal gland. Because if you have access to it uncalcified, that's when you're a problem.
Yeah, because it has chromatic and piezoelectrical properties, and those piezoelectrical properties in itself, like literally, those crystals in the brain that creates like those geometrical energy fields, you can actually like create colors that's beyond the visible light spectrum of everything, because that's how you tap into the fourth and the fifth dimensional world while you still living in the third. You'll be able to like see different colors and shit, like literally.
That sounds like what people that be going on trips, like with mushrooms and stuff, be talking about too. I've heard people say things like that. People that
like, and you know how you know? Because it's a different, like, I wouldn't say necessarily it's a different color because I've done it before. The colors it's the same colors, but they're a lot more vibrant. Just like your background is green, but that green is gonna be like it's like a green beyond green. It's like a different frequency green. And that's the only green that's gonna stand out in that realm beyond everything else in the physical world.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember coming home from the room when I went to my Bathala ceremony that I had that heightened vision like that. And another thing too, where I feel like we see it, I don't know how many people watch the Nature Channel, but I like to watch, especially when they're going deep dive in certain areas of the world where with the beautiful, the colors down deep in the deeps of the depths of the ocean. You see a lot of heightened, you know what I'm saying, vibrant colors down there too, or different aspects of the ocean and the water too.
Yeah, they say that if you dig deep enough in the caverns of the earth or whatever, they said like the bottom it starts to change colors. You'll see, like they said, the further you go, they said it like I don't know, I've heard like different stories, but I just heard like sometimes people say they see like a rainbow, or they see like some different colored dirt, like rainbow dirt. But you have to literally be digging like, a hole that gotta be long as a motherfucking year type shit.
Right.
They said, because they said, I know they said in fact, if you go to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and they said if you travel, they said that because they got a lot of plastered fake rocks inside the caves to where it stops you from going to Hollow Earth. But in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, right in Bowling Green, that is an entryway to get to Hollow Earth. They said if you travel through that cavern system for about 90 days, you can get to Hollow Earth, basically.
Yeah. And according to the teachings of Dr. Blair and Dr. York, there's multiple different entryways and gateways that you can get into the inner earth. It's about you having the coordinates and having the understanding, overstanding, outerstanding, understanding to, I guess, find those different types of entryways. Because that's where a lot of the petroglyphs come from. Like, I'm pretty sure anybody who's watched I don't know about, I think maybe Ancient Aliens, and there's another one, I can't remember the dude, it's a white dude, older guy that wears glasses, and he has like a maybe 5-6 part series where he goes into the Americas and tries to find a lot of different historical sites that have a lot of deep ancient civilizations tied to it or what have you. But they talk about a lot of these places having the petroglyphs, and the petroglyphs are no different, or they're pretty similar to what hieroglyphs are, in Kemet, but petroglyphs you find inside of mountains. And so I learned a lot about that in Dr. Blair's book, The World Within. He speaks about that. So that's a very powerful book when you want to learn a lot more about these different ways, to enter Earth and a lot of other places.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not sure, but I believe that the Department of Homeland Security is in Bowling Green also. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I know for a fact, I got this book. It's an older book that I had from like when I was in junior and high school. I still got the book, but they say that Bowling Green area is a hub for UFO activity. A lot of crop circles in that area. Wow. So there's got to be some truth to that Mammoth Cave entryway, going to Hollow Earth.
Yeah, I believe
Gotta be.
Yeah, I believe it. The Grand Canyon, I believe underneath the Sphinx or the pyramid complex in Kemet. I think those two are definitely part of some of those different places that have access to the inner Earth. There's a lot of different.
I think Mount Shasta does too.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all because that's a heavy volume UFO activity.
And then Yellowstone also, because a lot of those thermal pools at Yellowstone are actually interstellar vortex portals and gateways to Hollow Earth. Anything according to the esoterics, whether it's in a state of liquid vapor or it's actually physical, it's actually a blueprint. Whether and it has an accumulation of colors. They said it can be treated as a portal, and it should be used as such. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's
yeah. If you look at some of the thermal pools, a lot of times it's like it shows you like an orange, greenish, purple, blue color or whatever. Because like I said, because that's correlated to according to Melchizedek Javallo in his book, The Ancient Flower of Life, he extrapolates on how rainbows are actually portals. So anything that creates like the visible light spectrum, that color sequence, it can be used as a portal only if it's coming from nature. I ain't talking about somebody throwing a fucking rainbow on a building. I'm talking about something that's like natural, like a thermal pool that produces, natural rainbow colors from nature. It can be used as a portal.
I believe that, because that, you think about it, even like, and I got a presentation I'm working on now to put together for the tribe. But when you think about even the 7 chakras, all 7 chakras have their own color that they're, that they're connected to. But then where it goes deeper is each one of those chakras are also connected to deities. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's a very powerful breakdown. I like that. That's deep, because it's definitely, when you look at the chakras, they're definitely connected to the color spectrum, and then the color spectrum is connected to the deity spectrum.
This is what people should do. They should get the numerical codex of each chakra system and then apply that chakra system as far as like a mathematical sequence or whatever, apply to the pi equation, and then also apply it to your gematria symbol, such as like your name or whatever, because like it can basically foretell something as far as like what's going to be taking place in the future from a numerical point of view. So this is how you can basically escape many different traps in the simulation. Basically, like how some people like when all of a sudden when a celebrity dies or something, it'd be like they died at 76 years old, and then you can go all the way back and all these numbers add up to 76. But that's another way to escape it from a numerical standpoint. It's kind of like you're telegraphing your demise and you're manipulating the simulation because you understand the coding. So take the numerical systems of your chakra system, and then you multiply that by the pi equation, and then you also multiply it by your gematria number. And that number, whatever comes up, that is the number that they use for like ritualistic practices. As far as like, let's just say your number is 56. Like let's just say you didn't know it, but you found out. You would know that anything that adds up to 56 and these numbers or whatever, there's a trap connected to it, to where you're basically sacrificed.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, it's yeah. So it's basically like jumping the gun before they do it,
right?
Because everybody got, just like when you're in prison, everybody has a number. Everybody in the simulation has a number.
Yeah, even when it comes down to those who were born here in the corporation with the social security number, that's no different than a barcode number, a product number.
Facts.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So, how much more? I know we got to shut it down a little sooner tonight because we had a later start. How much longer you got? So I know how much further I can go before we do Q&A.
You keep going. At the hour mark, we do Q&A.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to and I took this note earlier because this goes back to something I got working as well. But the 7 thunders, 7 plagues, and then the 7 damn, I can't read my damn brain. But it was, you mentioned some 7s earlier. I know it was the 7 thunders, 7 plagues, and it was something else that I wanted to tie it to. How does that play into the 7 chakras, but also in the 7 principles or the laws of the Kybalion, the book by the 3 initiates? How does that? Because I feel like there's a connection for all those 7s.
Excuse me. What's the question again? I got the coughing.
Yeah, how the 7s connect with the 7 thunders, the 7 plagues, the 7 chakras? Like, how do all those kind of connect? Because to me, I feel like there's some sort of chemistry or synergy between those 7s, especially those 3 7s, the thunders.
Because the 7 represents the energy of the circle of life. Because once it goes through that seculum, that's where crystallization takes place.
Mm.
So when you're talking about the flower of life, so like hypothetically speaking, and I think in the book of John, they speak of planet Earth being a crystal city. So that means that planet Earth have to go through a state of metamorphosis. But the only way to do that is if humans interface with the star Polaris to create this crown energy of planet Earth, around planet Earth, basically, to where it's able to ascend. So just like how you got a cell that's able to go through a state of metamorphosis, just like when somebody catches malaria. When you catch malaria, it can transmute to single cell. It's a part of the crystallization aspect of it. So what I'm saying is that the firmament, right before you have that great reset, that Phoenix event, that firmament has to break. Before it breaks open, it has to crystallize first. Because the crystallization denotes the fact that you're in a fifth dimensional civilization. So like I said, everything, like as far as like the sky ice and all this stuff that the Archons created or whatever, yeah, you live in a prison planet, but like I said, anything as far as like everything has an upgrading process, everything has a hierarchical structure. So when you connect right back to the magnetosphere, the fifth dimensional plane, what happens is the planet goes through that crystallization. So the same thing takes place with the planet, but we humans have to interface with that intelligence in order for that crystallization to actually take place in real time.
Right.
So, like I said, the pole shift cannot happen until you activate.
That makes sense because now where does this tie in? Because this is something I don't recall you and I speaking about this, but it came to me today. When we talk about this thing called frequency, right? We all know that with frequency, sound, especially those anybody who's studied or done anything with music, the main seven, notes of music. You got 7 colors in the spectrum, rainbow spectrum. So, all these sevens. How does frequency play a role into where we are now? Because I saw something, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was talking about how they manipulating the megahertz, or like the frequency in which the music or the sounds that are being transmitted are produced or whatever, especially in the music industry. How does the sound frequencies tie into this awakening, and for us to kind of really activate that inner self, that super self?
Well, it plays a big part because since everything is pretty much manipulated, such as like everything as far as food and everything, a lot of times when these frequencies in our atmosphere, these EMF wave frequencies, like I said, all they're basically trying to do is invert your chakra system. That's all they're doing. They're trying to make your chakra system spin counterclockwise. That's all it is. Because when it spins opposite direction, that makes you an open vessel for demonic possession. Hence the music frequencies. When it's playing at 440 megahertz frequency or whatever, I think that's the megahertz at the devil's interval. Like I said, it makes you susceptible to demonic possession.
Right.
Because those frequencies makes the chakra system spin backwards. That's what it does.
Wow.
So it's another way. Like I said, when they spinning backwards, it tether connects you to the silver cord, the moon, energy and motion.
And
so that's why I said that represents manipulation of your nervous system too, as well.
That's deep, because that makes me think too, and I know you've heard of this, but it makes me think too how they put those hidden messages or demonic messages into music, to where if you play a record backwards, you'll hear these, demonic messages being kind of played back to you by playing the sound of the music backwards, especially when we had the records back in the day.
Yeah, but that's why, man, I was a very inconspicuous young man when I was little, but a lot of people don't probably, ain't gonna understand how to remember this, but remember the Bone Thugs and Harmony CD, and they had the passage on the back of the album, and it was backwards or whatever. I remember being like, I was probably like 5 years old, 6 years old, and I knew exactly what that was. I knew it was evil and everything. Yeah. But I think on the back of the album, I probably was probably about like 7 years old, something like that. But on the back of the Bone Thugs and Harmony album, shows you like this, it's like a seance, and it's backwards, and you got to read it backwards.
Wow. That's crazy.
Because anything backwards basically interfaces with the spiritual world, but it's the upside down. Just like they said in the movie Stranger Things, the upside down is actually hell. This is why how you really living in hell. Everything is fucking upside down in planet Earth.
Yeah.
Where the good is bad and the bad is good.
Yeah.
Where people demonize you for speaking against the government, not knowing that the government is the same motherfuckers who killed Jesus.
Facts.
You get what I'm saying? That's how you know you living in hell, because everything is backwards. Everything is backwards.
Yeah,
but like I said, but now we're in the last reincarnation cycle. Now everything has to go through a restoration process. So that's what you see taking place.
Yeah. So let's switch gears real quick, because this is something that we haven't gotten into as of late. We have in the past, but not too much recently. There's a lot of developments going on in regards to the change of the guards with the corporation formerly known as the United States of America, and the true rightful heirs and rightful owners of this land, the ones who really, have the access to deeds and the real true ownership of the land. There's a lot of transformations and a lot of things taking place that a lot of people might not be aware of. I know you've spoken about the King Charles thing, or the dude Charles thing, they call it King, from England, when he came over here and met with Trump, and there was some sort of the guards or shifting power with that. And I'm seeing a lot of other things. I was actually watching, I think, Dr. Kia Pruitt's channel today or yesterday, and she was talking about a lot of different things that are going on, to where a lot of the corporations, a lot of the aspects of the corporations are being dissolved. Can you kind of speak to some of that, some of the tribe who might not be as tapped into, to kind of look at it from a lens about all the different crumblings and the different, dissolutions or dissolving of a lot of this corporation and the aspects of it?
What you're seeing is the royal family is giving Donald Trump power to create this synthetic regime of a totalitarian, feudalistic, technocratic system that is controlled by artificial intelligence. So the crown has basically been dismantled. The crown of England, the seal off Buckingham Palace has been removed ever since the Queen, when she passed away. The Pope, we basically got the last Pope. Right now, Pope Leo the 14th, and then in King Charles, and I think the great majority of the titles he stepped down. He removed his title. He removed his title in the beginning of the year, I believe. So they no longer have the nomenclature titles of Duke, Sir, or stuff like that. Noble. They can't have those terms no more. Because they create those terms, and everything was created during the time of the Piscean Age of Darkness. They rule under the lunar energy, because that's why a lot of people, they got to understand the diametrical difference between ruler gods and creator gods. Ruler gods are the ones who create corporations. Creator gods are the ones who have the ability to live within the energy of nature. They can harmonize with nature. They don't basically monetize and capitalize off nature. Because they interface with the planet, because they're connected by way of their DNA. Why you think they call, when you're talking about the Moors and everything, they talking about nationality. Nationality comes from the word nativity. Nativity comes from the word navel. So that means that your navel is actually your core, your birthright that connects you to the land. That's why you got the tassel at the end of the fez. That is your etheric core that connects you to the land, which makes you noble. That's why when you go into most temples or whatever, they don't tell you to tie the tassel down on either side. You just let that motherfucker go 720, because that means that you're basically connected to all the land. You know what I'm saying? You're connected to the 5 civilized tribes. You know what I'm saying? So that you can walk. You know what I'm saying? You own the land for about like I think it's like 640 billion acres of land. That they that we got. And I know the Vatican, they stole at least about 3 billion acres of land from the indigenous people.
And not to mention what they got in the vaults, all them books they got them tunnels underneath the Vatican too.
Yeah, they got a thing called a Chronos Phasor. A Chronos Phasor has the ability to manipulate the space-time continuum. So a Chronos Phasor can basically project a holographic image or video, and it can basically show you what took place in the future and what's going to be taking place in the past. Yep. And that's Atlantean technology that they also had during the times of Tartaria, because they used to activate the Chronos Phasor with the cathodes, and hence where you get the word cathedral from, because a cathedral was actually a metaphysical center to absorb electrical energy, to where you're able to stream down intelligence from the magnetosphere. That's why that when you look at some of the cathedrals or whatever, a lot of the monolithic structures are basically antennas. Yep. It was antennas or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what is this, when we're talking about all this technology, especially when it comes to where you just left off, where does, and because I feel like in my spirit is something that's connecting this, where does the Technu come into play? Because if you think about it, all the major spots where these demons and parasites are at, they always seem to have a Technu, whether it's the Vatican, at the house up here in DC, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of their major whether it's church or state or whatever the case may be, they always have a Technu in the vicinity. What's the significance of them having a Technu there?
You said having a tech or what?
A Technu. You know the thing that's in Kemet. It's like it's like a real tall structure that has like a diamond or like a pyramid at the top of it.
Oh, kind of like an obelisk.
Obelisk, yeah, they call it Technu or obelisk. Same thing. Yeah.
Well, they inverted the energy of it, because now they use the watermarks. They use the obelisk. They're basically watermarks for trafficking. So if you go to Star Island, all the Star Islands, either the one in New York and the one in Miami, that's where it's a hub for trafficking. They got one in the Hamptons. They got a Star Island in Hamptons that has an obelisk, and they got one where Epstein and Rick Ross's mansion is at.
That's crazy.
So a lot of the obelisk, specifically the one in Washington D.C., that is basically interconnected to the Pleiadian star constellation, because Ashtar Command, they that obelisk is being used as an antenna to connect with our Ashtar Command, which are basically the tall whites. So that's why I think it was in 2019, Donald Trump, when you go to when you went to his Twitter page, in 2019, when you look at the header, I remember this vividly. You look at the header and you click it, it's going to show the presidential plane, but it shows this one man. Everybody else is the same size, like short as hell. But it shows the guy, he's like 8 feet tall. He's basically, his head is like the same level as the wing of the plane, and he's in a business suit. Well, one day and I can't find a picture nowhere.
You know, they pull
yeah, but I used to I had it, you know, at one point in time, but I can't find it or whatever, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of times they try to take stuff like that off the internet, especially you know, with, you know, the great majority of this alien talk going on. But in 2019, Donald Trump, when you look at the backdrop of his Twitter page, it shows you a giant in a business suit, and they're taking pictures of him.
What do you feel like that was symbolism of or for? Because I feel like everything has a reason or a meaning. So what do you feel like that was about? Or symbolizing?
Donald Trump is working with the tall whites. That's what it's basically telling you.
I got you.
And I told you the tall whites are the ones who work with Ashtar Command. Ashtar Command is a faction of the Pleiadians.
Yeah.
That's where you think you get the term "beam me up, Scotty." Beam me up, Scotty. That's where it came. It came from Ashtar Command, because Ashtar Command, the original supreme leader, his name was Scotty.
Wow. That's nuts. Yeah, I think I went a little bit past the mark, but how much longer you got, so I can hopefully get a few of these questions?
I can get like a couple more questions.
Right, so I'll do a few from the tribe. I see a lot of comments. I appreciate y'all. burning up them comments, man. It's a whole lot that I wasn't able to get to, but we had to kind of move on a fast track tonight with the show. But I do want to get back to some of the ones I was able to start earlier, so we can get them questions brought to the floor before we get Brother Bdell about this thing. So Arlo Burton 3189 made a comment saying that the Golden Gate Bridge should be watched. I remember you did a presentation when I first started the channel talking about the Golden State Bridge and about how that was tied to something of significance that's going to happen. Because I don't remember if it was a Super Bowl or All-Star game or something, but the Golden State Bridge, the Golden State Bridge, was in that presentation because it was symbolism for something that was to take place. You want to kind of share your thoughts?
All right. This is also interconnected to the 1014 ritual, because this whole thing kind of creeped me out myself, because my birthday is actually 1014. So when you go to the past Super Bowl we just had, both of the quarterbacks, one of the quarterbacks, his number was 10, the other one was 14. But the reason there's a significance to this past Super Bowl is because that was a ritual for what is to come that's going to be taking place in California, because the next year's Super Bowl, when you look at the logo of it, it shows you the Golden Gate Bridge. It shows you the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's basically telling you in real time that, there's going to be some type of ecological humanitarian crisis in that geographical area, because, like I said, California is where they want to build the smart cities first. And then you also got earthquake machines underneath California.
Yeah. And they keep on pumping the fear of that earthquake hitting California too. I keep hearing more and more about it.
So as far as California is the Golden Gate Bridge is that also represents a ritual, because, like I said, the Golden Gate is what they call the galactic center, because the Golden Gate is the yellow brick road. The yellow brick road is what takes you back to Oz, is what takes you back to God, which is the heart chakra. So it's many different ways how you can look at it, you know what I'm saying? But they putting the rituals right in front of your face. Just Pope Leo the 14th. Pope, the last Pope, I think he died, and I think he died at 88. And I think the gematria code for Golden Gate Bridge is 88 as well. I'm not sure, but don't quote me on that. But it's also the next 9/11 event. Hence why Donald Trump, he is president 45 and 47. 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 plus 7 is 11. 9/11. So that means that a 9/11 event is going to happen on his watch through the Golden Gate Bridge ritual.
And not to mention, he's the last president. That is a real thing. He is the last president, just like the Pope is the last Pope. So
yeah, because he's been the president. I keep telling motherfuckers that, because I said, he got qualified immunity through the continuity of government. He's been in office this whole time, even when you had
2016 first term.
You said who?
I said that's been since 2016 in his first term, right? Was that his first term in 2016?
Yeah, but he was pretty much still in office when Biden was in there, because he was in control of the military. They didn't have control of the military, because if he did, he would have Joe Biden. He would have signed a secular Declaration of Independence on 2020. He would have signed it, but he has no control.
And not just that, but according to the files, that wasn't the real Biden anyway, because they say the real one was executed in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, that was Jim. The great majority of the Bidens that you have been seeing, a lot of times that was Jim Carrey.
And what's going on with him? Is he really dead? Because I'm hearing and seeing, like, I know that whatever that was that they put in that ceremony, or that award ceremony, I think in Paris or in France or whatever, that wasn't Jim Carrey.
Nah, more than likely it could have been a lookalike. Like I said, man, they got all types of technology to where they can manipulate, human perception. So, yeah, like I said, the skin mask. We are literally in the last sun cycle. So, like I said, even if it doesn't feel that hot outside, it's the frequencies. Why you think it's so cold right now in the month of May? This is the coldest it's ever been to me. At least. But this is what they trying to do. Heat in itself is another way to activate the dynamos, and the dynamos in itself speeds up the vibration. So they're trying to keep it cold as much as possible on the planet, because heat is what basically creates, spontaneous combustion.
Activation.
You know what I'm saying? So
activated.
So they, but like I said, the frequencies that's coming here, they can't manipulate it, but they can manipulate the climate. But
Shout out to Fine Zimmy. Fine Zimmy says, "What do you think about the volcano and the meteor that flashed green in the Philippines?" I didn't see that. Did you see anything about that?
Yeah. And first of all, people got to understand and get into cosmology, and astronomy a lot more because, first of all, meteorites ain't green. They don't have that green gamma radiation streak at the end of it.
Usually white, right?
So that was something else. Anything that produces the color of green, anything that produces the color green is an intelligence. So it's an intelligence. Whether if it is a rock, like some debris or something, it came from it was extracted from something that's way beyond the modalities of planet Earth. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, a lot of times when these debris and everything, the asteroids and meteorites or whatever, when they extract, from the Van Allen belt, a lot of times it's like I said, it's just another way to upgrade the planet. But they are extraterrestrial entities, just like Robert Townsend when he made the movie Meteor Man.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Let's see. This is earlier. Shout out to Shakito. So, how do we honor the moon here? I think you meant how did they move the moon here? Because I think I saw another comment with that. I think that question was initially how did they move the moon here? I think we might have covered that before.
They towed it here. They put that motherfucker on a U-Haul and brought it over here.
Yeah, pretty much
on everything. I'm for real. They moved it over here.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it was like a craft though that pulled it into the atmosphere, though, right? Wasn't it some sort of Draconian craft?
Because they're nomads. They don't have a homeland. Just like how you have the Ashkenaz who doesn't have a homeland. You got certain species of Draconian reptilians. They don't have a homeland. They've been kicked out of everywhere. But the moon, according to Credo Mutwa, when you get into Zulu mythology, the moon was told into our solar system because in the inception of time, it wasn't no sun or a moon either. He speaks about that. It was only like rainy. It was only like rainy skies. It was only like rainy skies because that was another way to produce a form of like intrinsic vegetation. So it didn't really need too much of light because it was interfacing with the true spiritual sun, the North Star Polaris during that time period. And then when you had the shifting of the precessional circle, when it shifted to the Alpha Draconis star system, that's when the Alpha Draconis, they brought the moon into our solar system to help them interface with their planet.
Wow. And that was a long time ago, right? That was like hundreds of thousands, not millions of years ago, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, the moon's been over. The moon is something new. This shit, that moon only been over here for about 14,000 years. But you do have, about 12,000 years. When you look at a precessional circle, like I said, everything operates in 6,000 year increments or whatever. As far as like power and civilizations and things of that nature. But in the inception of time, it shows you the first sun cycle. Then you had a moon cycle. Now you're in the last sun cycle. Okay. And I think you have different forms of precessionals or whatever, because because the planet Earth in itself is older than 24,000 years.
Billions of years old. Because if I'm not mistaken, it is about 24,000 year cycles, right? If I'm not mistaken.
As far as like hierarchical power based upon constellations, been about 24,000 years.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna get, maybe you got time for two more?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just do two more try. I'm gonna have to definitely when we come back on the next week's show, I'll definitely make sure I try to get more time for the Q&A section. Stop 5 comparables. 370 said, what about the chemtrails that they keep spraying up there to try to block the sun?
What you mean? Like the chemtrails, like, you know, the chemtrails, they're gonna do what they do. I mean, you can't really, the only thing you can do is alter your lifestyle. Like the chemtrails, you know, you worried about them blocking the sun, but the chemtrails is trying to stop them from interfacing with the sun within you. So what you need to do is you need to go to steam rooms and you need to go to saunas. And that way you can sweat out the arsenic and the metals that they put inside, you know, the chemtrails. Because the those metals in itself is what creates light cold lockdown. That's cryogenic technology.
Yeah, that's facts. Let me see if I can get one more quick one so I get somebody different. I did. I'm gonna bring this up while I try to find another question, but I did see where Tim Burgess said that a huge ship went off into the water over Cali back in the 60s, and they have been tracking UFOs. There's a lot going on in the water. A whole lot. There's a lot of major going on in that water, especially right now. There's a whole lot of it for sure. A lot of crafts, a lot of civilizations, a lot of other ships, all kinds of stuff going on. Let's see. I'm not sure what this one means. At C Brackens 9918, what was the question in regards to Kanye with Baphomet? Was like, can you share that if you can?
Nah, it's pretty it's very vague. So
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with this one. New Digital Wonder says, ask him about the famous Crowley saying of live under or love under will. Are you familiar with that phrase?
No, I'm not familiar with that. Nope.
All right, we'll go with this one. Knobstop Comparables says, does the Bay have any connection to the Morris doctrine? A lot of Morris teachers have Bay in their names.
Yeah, because Bay is a nomenclature title that connects you to the land. They're the governors of the land. Like my name is Bdell Rice Bay. So that means that the governors of the land are the ones who are supposed to be the real sheriffs or the sheriffs. So that means that you're supposed to be the policy enforcers for the matriarch to protect the land, to where you're not under the jurisdiction of a draconian government that is ruled by corporations.
I'm not sure who this must be, a new member or a new watcher, because that don't make sense to me. You can't believe in spirituality and aliens. That's some Bible stuff to me.
Well, first of all, people got to understand that metaphysics is where spirituality meets science. And then when you get into science, that is also equated to microbiology and genealogy. And then when you get into those dynamics, that actually talks about, you know, genetic hybridization and genetic, you know, grafting, which is also correlated to extraterrestrial entities.
Right.
Because like I said, it's not about if you believe in aliens. It's, you know, understanding and being able to fathom the fact that the government has the ability to have technology to create aliens.
Yeah. And that there are real aliens that they didn't create, that, you know what I'm saying, come from different places as well. Like that's, I mean, when it comes to spirituality and science is seen spirituality. Spirituality is unseen science. They go hand in hand. Like that I mean, I don't understand.
And then especially when you get into like connotative linguistics, like I said, you know, a lot of the words, there's a inception, there's a mechanics that comes with certain words. Just like when you look at the word alien, the word alien is really equated to El Eloi, which is El Elyon El or Theos. So that means that the real alien is actually Anu. So like I said, there's a reason why like everything is really a play on words. So like I said, man, people's perceptions, you know, is pretty much been, you know, been skewed and warped because, you know, they watch too much television. So that they can't delineate. So when you're talking about angels and demons, they can't think of an extraterrestrial. They can't fathom seeing an extraterrestrial entity. They just got to see. The only thing they see, it comes from westernized society, as far as like what a demon is a red motherfucker with some horns on their head.
Yeah, and some people can't see anything past Christianity. I had a conversation with somebody last week, and it tickles me a little bit because they presented themselves as being open to learning more things outside of Christianity, but after certain things were said, I could tell that struck them the wrong way. But it pulled all kind of feathers off of their damn bird because they was hot. But it's like, to me, it's like I look at it like life in the universe. There's nowhere in hell from the time I can remember as a child that I would ever have thought that we were the only beings in the universe. It just doesn't even seem to make sense to me, right? So
well,
it's like
if people read correctly instead of this is the thing with black people. When it comes to so-called black people, they don't read into information. They read into information with their feelings. See, there's a difference. So just like when I tell somebody like, well, they said that heaven is in the Orion, that's a star constellation. That's the fifth dimension, right? What they speak of, and they said that they got a trinary star system and things of that nature. And then it was like, no, that ain't real. And I said, well, it tells you in the Holy Quran that, there's a place called Iliyah, which is Ilihun, the same place where they said where you have the seventh heaven in the Bible, or Uranus. You see what I'm saying? But see, people just don't understand, how ontological artifacts, theology, and celestial alignments. They don't understand how all those things basically are correlated together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's some people, man, they just,
they just indoctrinated, man, programmed zombies, unfortunately. But as above, so below, as within, so without. It's always two shifts, two poles to the polarities. Okay. This is the very last one right here, man, if you got time to take it. So Don Zave said, how mandatory is it for the nervous system regulation at these overstimulating times we are living in? With some things always trying to pull attention from self? That's a good question.
Well, heaven and hell in itself is cultivated by way of your nervous system. So your nervous system is controlled by the fascia system, which is the electrical energy around the body. So in order to keep your vibration and your frequency high, make sure that you have self-affirming practices that's basically high vibrational. So that because if you keep indulging into low vibrational activities, what's going to happen is it's going to create sensory overload. And then when you have sensory overload, that's when your nervous system is compromised, and it basically gives you this concept and the perception of hell. So your nervous system, as far as like heaven and hell, that construct is really cultivated by way of your nervous system. So if you have a healthy nervous system or whatever, you're in heaven. But if you have a low vibrational ass nervous system, you're pretty much in hell, because your nervous system is a projection of your reality, basically.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. I definitely appreciate you, brother. If you want to leave the tribe with, where they can find you, where they can support you, where they can buy your books, where they can, donate, which I got the Cash App up there already. But whatever you want to leave on the way out until we get back in the booth next week, man. Go ahead and let them have it.
This is my book right here. You can find it on Amazon. The Sacred Book of the Chosen. It was a bestseller for about 3 months. And plus, I'm working on another book here pretty soon, dropping it around October. But you can find me at Bridell Rice Bay on Facebook. You can find me at Bdell 1014 on Instagram, TikTok, and Bdell 1014 on YouTube.
Yes, sir. That's what's up, man. Look, as always, bro, these things keep getting hotter and hotter, man. I definitely appreciate you coming through, doing what we do with these war reports for the tribe, man. And I definitely I'll holler at you to see how we can set it up to make this thing happen again next week, bro. So I definitely send peace to you and your family. And if you got any last little word you want to drop with them, man, let them have it, and then we get up out this thing, bro.
Shit, stay put. All right. During this time period, like a lot of people have been quitting a lot of things like cold turkey or whatever. But like I said, the energies on the planet, they're very intrinsic during this time period, because there's a lot of stuff that's taking place in the Schumann resonance. So like I said, protect yourself, and protecting yourself during this time is protecting your nervous system. So the best way to do that is to deviate from anything that's not connected to a form of peace and your tranquility. So peace is, you know what I'm saying, should be your main component during this time period. So peace, and that's the only thing that can, you know, pretty much keep you energetically balanced.
That's facts. And you know, and listen, and this is something that I know I've definitely been intentional with as of late. Make sure that you cultivate, activate, initiate, and protect your peace by any and all damn means necessary, non-negotiable. Protect that peace, because you can't do anything at your highest level without being in peace. So that'll be the 2 cents I leave for y'all. Try it for sure.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And also, like I said, man, start fasting from certain things, because like I said, you don't want to have a lot of sensory overload. If you can't fast from certain things, that means that your ass is a slave to it. So you don't want to be a slave to nothing. You don't want to be a slave to your lower self. So just keep those vibrations high, and you know, everything will be copacetic. Just remain calm as the matrix is collapsing.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the Matrix, shout out to the Oracle came through last week, man, and did her thing. Sophia Stewart, that was a dope conversation. I look forward to sharing some more clips from that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna definitely I appreciate all y'all, family. Let's see, you said hold on, man. Here it is, Anisha. That's probably the best advice I ever heard. Yes, sir. Listen, we got a lot more where that came from, family, for sure.
Salute to Anish.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, I appreciate you, bro. So I definitely holler at you, man. Like I said, tap in to see we'll come do this thing again next week, brother. And family tribe, I appreciate y'all. We got some more in store coming this week. So I'll definitely see y'all on the next episode, family. We are out. I appreciate all the love and support. Peace.
Peace, brothers. Salute.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe ní gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your